Captain Peter Cutsey, a continuation of the B737NG normal procedures. Before taxi procedure, we'll review it first, then we'll go into the aircraft and do it. Generator 1 and 2 switches on, probe heat switches on, wing anti-ice as needed, engine anti-ice as needed, pack switches auto, isolation valve switch auto, APU bleed air switch off, APU switch off, engine start switches continuous, engine start levers idle dedent, captain. Verify ground equipment clear, both captain and first officer. Flap setting announce, flap lever set takeoff flap, check leading edge flap extend, green light is on. Flight controls check, normally aileron left, aileron right, elevator up, elevator down, captain holds the tiller, and rudder left, rudder right. This is just the captain's procedure. First officer doesn't get involved except monitoring. If there is a flight control position indicator, the first officer will display the indicator on the lower DU. Lower display, then blank, transponder to transponder or alt on, depending on the aircraft type. Recall check. Okay, let's go into the airplane and do it. Generator switches on. Probe heaters on. Wing anti-ice off. Engine anti-ice off. Pack switches auto. Isolation valve switch auto. APU bleed air switch off. APU switch off. Engine start switches continuous. Engine start levers idle dedent. Verify ground equipment clear. Clear. Flap setting announce. The following method I recommend. CDU, flaps 1. Flap lever, flap 1. Flap 1 indicating, green light on. Then repeated by the first officer. CDU, flaps 1. Flap lever, flaps 1. Flaps 1 indicated, green light on. OPT, flaps 1. Flight controls, aileron left, aileron right, elevators up, elevators down, rudder left, rudder right. Controls check. The captain does this, and when he is moving the controls to the full limit, he releases the controls, such as the ailerons, and the control should go back to the neutral state. Lower display, blank. Transponder, out, on, or transponder, depending on the aircraft type. Recall, check. The first officer does the check, and if you noticed, he pushed the recall, all lights came on, and then no lights, and that's what you're checking for, no lights. Likewise, while this check is being done, both crew members will be checking both sides to ensure that both annunciator panels are clear once the check is complete. Just before we do the before taxi checklist, I don't know if you noticed a little different way of checking the flaps. One airline in particular does it, I think, very professionally by checking the CDU first, then the flap lever, then the flap indication on the gauge, then the light, then repeated by the first officer. And in addition to that, first officer checking his or her OPT to make sure that's what they calculated. This is a foolproof way to ensure that the correct flap setting has been made. And in winter operations where you don't select flap because of perhaps the taxiway surface conditions are such that you can't until just before takeoff, you would do the same procedure once you lowered flap, no matter where you do it. Before taxi checklist, we'll review it, then we'll do it. Generators on, probe heat on, anti-ice, not required, isolation valve auto, engine start switches continuous, recall checked, auto brake RTO, engine start levers idle dedent, flight controls check, and ground equipment clear. And then the first officer would call before taxi checklist complete. Let's go into the aircraft and do it. Generators on, probe heat on, anti-ice off, not required. Isolation valve auto. Engine start switches continuous. Recall checked. Auto brake RTO. Engine start levers idle dedent. The captain does that, and he actually puts his hands on the levers and makes sure that they are in the dedent. Flight controls checked. The captain would respond to that. And ground equipment clear. Both the captain and first officer would check outside and as far as they can see on both sides, because they'll be requesting taxi clearance on this. At this point, the first officer before taxi checklist complete. And thank you for watching. See you in the next video.